Six Flags America is a major amusement park in Bowie, Maryland, serving the Baltimore and Washington, D.C. areas. It opened in 1974 as a wildlife preserve, a place you can drive your car through an animal safari. Then they added a train with a narrated tour, but after a couple years, they ran out of money and shut it down. In 1979, the park reopened as Wild Kingdom, still having a safari, but now with a playground, shows, and a petting zoo. This also failed and the park closed. It would change hands again and reopen in 1982 as Wild World, now with flat rides and water slides. They would shift to be a water park by 1984, putting its rides in storage. But after they realized attendance tanked on cold days, they brought the rides back. They were looking for a roller coaster, but couldn't find one that was affordable, so they imported one from Massachusetts and they would never turn back. In 1992, the park was bought by the Tierco Group, later renamed Premier Parks, and the park was renamed Adventure World. After Premier Parks bought Six Flags, the park was renamed Six Flags America in 1999. This park got a rush of investments in a short amount of time, and then it dried up fast. That leaves 12 coasters in the park's history, 8 active, 3 in the past, and 1 that's kind of in limbo. These are the coasters of Six Flags America, past and present, ranked from worst to best. I just want to mention, I've been to this park 3 times. Once in 2008, then 2019, and then I stopped in for one ride in 2021. So that wasn't a long visit, but it was an important one. I didn't get to ride every coaster in the park's history, but I have ridden their clones, and I can use that experience to rank these up. First, an honorable mention, and this one's really a shame. When Six Flags Astroworld closed in 2005, its Ultra Twister was moved here in 2006. The train sat on a back road by Wild One's turnaround. The track was out in a field behind Batwing, but it was never rebuilt. So many of Astroworld's coasters got relocated, but were never reconstructed. This could have been a great addition to the park, but it wasn't meant to be, and the only American Ultra Twister was scrapped. This sat there for about 4 years, and then it was gone. Number 12. Mind Eraser, a Vekoma SLC, opened in 1995, currently standing but not operating. This is one of the very early SLCs, one of many that Premier Parks bought for their properties in the 90s. Of all the SLCs that I've ridden, this has always stood out as one of the worst. They're not good to begin with, so a bad SLC is among the worst coasters in the country, and that's why it's in last place on this list. 109 feet tall, 50 miles an hour, 2,260 feet of track, and 5 inversions. It's your standard model, but every SLC is maintained differently. This one is extra shaky, adding to the headbanging, and that's the main reason this one is so hated. This is not open for the 2023 season, but rather than being scrapped, it appears the area it's in will be renovated, and it could open back up by 2024. If it does, I really hope it gets new trains. Those make these SLCs pretty good rides. Number 11. Firebird, a B&M Flawless, opened in 2012. This coaster will always have a special place in history as the very first B&M, though it looks a lot different now than it did when it opened. In 1990, this was Iron Wolf at Six Flags Great America. It was removed in 2011, shipped down to Six Flags America, and reopened as a stand-up coaster called Apocalypse. It would stay this way until 2019, when it was repainted, rebranded, and got new flowless trains. I never rode this as a stand-up coaster, either at Great America or here, but in 2021, I came to the park just to ride Firebird, and it was terrible. I rarely bang my head on B&Ms. Usually, there's just a rattle at worst, but my head was bouncing all over the place. It stands 100 feet tall, has a 90-foot drop, hits 55 miles an hour, covers 2,900 feet of track, and has only 2 inversions. It's a small-scale B&M for sure, and on top of being painful, I didn't think it was very exciting. Maybe the flawless conversion helped, but I wish they would have just gotten something new. Number 10. The Great Alonzo's Cannonball Coaster, a Molina & Sons kids coaster, opened in 1993, closed in 1998. This was the park's original kids coaster, located in the kids area, known as a Day in the Circus. This was only 12 feet tall and had a 6-foot drop. Just an oval kids coaster with a couple airtime hills. And if you never got to ride this but have been on Little Bantam at Kennywood, that's almost the same thing. It may have been small and not that exciting, but I bet it wasn't painful and bad at what it's meant for, so that's why it's not last on the list. Number 9. Great Chase, a Zamperla gravity coaster, opened in 1999. After Great Alonzo hit the road, Great Chase made its way in. This gravity coaster model is very popular, but this was one of the first ever built. 13 feet tall, 262 feet long, Just a twisted drop in a helix before it turns back into the station. I've never ridden this one, but I've ridden this model all over the place. Magic Mountain, Silver Dollar City, Holiday World, Dollywood. Honestly, more than I want to admit. And even though the laterals in that helix can get kinda crazy, this is a pretty basic kids coaster. Number 8. Roar, a GCI wooden coaster, opened in 1998. This was one of GCI's first coasters, and I've never been a fan. I thought this was really brutal on my last full trip in 2019. I really shouldn't have ridden this twice. That second ride was very regrettable. It's 95 feet tall, has a twisted 85-foot drop, hits 51 miles an hour, and it covers almost 3,500 feet of twisted track. There's basically no airtime here, just a long ride full of twists and turns and a whole lot of shaking. I didn't find anything redeemable about riding this. It seems like the perfect candidate for the RMC makeover. I only rank this number 8 because some people seem to like it, and not everyone agrees with my personal problems with it. Number 7. Raging Cajun, a Reverchon spinning mouse, opened in 2014. Just like Firebird, this started its life at Six Flags Great America, operating there from 2004 to 2013. Then it made its way southeast for the 2014 season. These are so common, they're very portable. Half of the ones ever built have been relocated, and here's another one. I rode this once at Great America, and then one more time here, and my ride in 2019 was awesome. I've never had that much fun on a spinning mouse, and I've ridden way too many of these. Maybe it was because of the way the weight was spread out in the car, but we were spinning way too fast, and it made it one of my favorite rides in the park. I understand this isn't always going to be the case, but I left with a very good impression of Raging Cajun. Number 6. Two-Face, the flip side, of a Coma inverted boomerang, opened in 1999, closed in 2007. For as common as the standard boomerang was, only 5 of these inverted ones were built. Like all of these models, they feature trains that face each other, so everyone got to experience the forward and backward sections separately. This stood 131 feet tall, hit 50 miles an hour, went through 3 inversions forward, and then the same 3 backward. And from my experience on Kings Islands and Vertigo, this is a very intense coaster and pretty underrated. I saw this coaster when I went to the park in 2008, but it was already closed down for good. There was an incident in 2007 where the riders got sprayed by hydraulic fluid, and after that, it never reopened. This resurfaced at Movieland in Italy in 2015, now known as the Diablo Leak, and this plot of land would be used for Raging Cajun. Number 5. Python, a Schwarzkopf shuttle loop, opened in 1993, closed in 1998. This started its life in 1978, one of the 2 sides of Lightning Loops at Six Flags Great Adventure, the 2 loops interlocking. They broke up in 1992, one side going to Frontier City and the other coming here, reopening as Python the next year. This uses a winch launch to push the train off a platform, 47 feet down, into a vertical loop, up another platform, and then it launches you again, this time backward. I was lucky enough to ride Diamondback at Frontier City, and it's a great ride experience. It's very simple, it's very old-fashioned, but the airtime off the platforms is great, and the loop is a real gut punch. This was located on the east side of the park, part of it using the land that Raging Cajun stands on, and it was replaced the next year by Two-Face. The track was moved to the same field that Ultra Twister sat on, and it was there until the Ultra Twister track took its place. Number 4. Joker's Jinx, a Premier Rides launch looper, opened in 1999. This was one of 2 of these models coming to the chain in 1999, the other being Poltergeist at Fiesta, Texas. This opened with over-the-shoulder restraints, but in 2002, those were replaced with lap bars. It launches you out of the station using LIMs, reaching 60 miles an hour, climbing 79 feet, traversing 2,700 feet of track, and going through 4 inversions. This is oftentimes called a spaghetti bowl coaster, with all that track twisted up like pasta. Premier Rides having to be very careful with their clearances. This makes for some weird transitions and some slow parts on the ride, but it's still a fun experience. The best part is how it picks up a lot of speed at the end and whips into the final corkscrew. Number 3. Wild One, a PTC wooden coaster, opened in 1986. This was the park's first coaster. As I mentioned in the beginning, they were looking for something cheap, and this is what they settled on. Buying Paragon Park's giant coaster once that Massachusetts park shut down. They renamed it Wild One to match the name of the park, which at the time was Wild World. This was no small wooden coaster. It's 98 feet tall, covers 4,000 feet of track, hits 55 miles an hour, and has a very long out and back layout. It's the oldest coaster at Six Flags America at 37 years, but it traces its history all the way back to 1917 at Paragon Park. And to Six Flags' credit, they have this coaster running great. I really enjoyed my rides in 2019, and it was way smoother than its wooden neighbor, Roar. Number 2. Batwing, a Vekoma Flying Dutchman, opened in 2001. It's hard to believe this is real, but Batwing is the last original coaster Six Flags America has gotten. When I say original, I just mean it wasn't relocated from another park. There was an exact clone that went to another Six Flags park in the same year, X-Flight at Worlds of Adventure. I was disappointed to find this closed when I went to the park in 2008, but I guess that's pretty common for Batwing. I came back in 2019 and got a couple rides, and like any Flying Dutchman, you're gonna get a great ride, but you might get kinda beat up. This definitely has a rattle, but you can overlook it and enjoy the flying coaster experience. You rise up 115 feet on your back, dive down and max out at 50 miles an hour, cover over 3,300 feet of track, 5 inversions, and the craziest part is that vertical loop. Taking a loop on your back is something you have to experience to believe. Number 1. Superman Ride of Steel, an Intamin mega coaster, opened in 2000. If you're keeping score, Six Flags America got 6 new coasters between 1998 and 2001, and Superman Ride of Steel is the crown jewel of them all. Six Flags bought 3 of these, one going to New England with a custom layout, and this one being a clone of the one that went to Darien Lake the year prior. This has a 205-foot drop, hits 73 miles an hour, and covers a mile of track. This has big camelbacks, small bunny hops, 2 big sweeping helices, and that signature straight track. You go through this whole course with just a T-bar, some of the most open trains that you can ask for, but these do have bars on the sides which can be annoying. Still, you can't complain, it could be worse. This is not the best hyper, but for a park like Six Flags America that's starving for investment, they're lucky they got this when they did. That's a wrap on Six Flags America, past and present. This park gets a lot of hate, especially from me. Just take me to Six Flags America.
Okay, it's your funeral.
I found a longer route to Six Flags America. Would you like to take it?
Yes, I would.
Six Flags America may be closed when you arrive.
That's fine. So yeah, it gets a lot of hate, but it definitely has its bright spots. The investment they got during the height of Six Flags spending spree still defines the park. They're still rocking those investments proudly, with hardly anything to show off since then. If you've never been to the park, I would definitely recommend it. It's not the best run park. The rides break down a lot. They have some truly awful coasters, but still, you should check it out. You'll either have a good time, or you'll have a good vlog to post on YouTube. Let me know what you think of the list, what you would change around, and what your favorite ride is at the park. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, and if you're new here and love coasters, please give me a sub. I have a playlist with other parks in this series. Also, check out my links below for my Discord server, and my second channel where I post copyright-free off-ride footage, and my baseball channel if you also happen to love baseball. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.